Go ahead.
All right. If I were to ask you what are the dangers and risks of firefighting or just being a fireman in general, what is the first thing that comes to mind? You might say the extreme heat, smoke, or getting injured by various means. While these are all very plausible and common on the fire ground, there is one risk that both the public and people in the fire service seem to forget about, and that is the risk for cancer. In a 5-year study conducted by NIOSH, which is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, it was found that firefighters had a 9% increase of being diagnosed with cancer and a 14% increase in dying from a cancer-related death when compared to the general population. Therefore, I want to take the next few minutes to discuss what creates these cancers, how we are exposed to different cancers, and the steps we could take to lower our exposure and risk for developing these cancers. First, we must understand what products and materials contain cancer-causing, I'll just say chemicals. While there are hundreds of different materials and products, I will only discuss the most common. How many people have cleaning products in their house? Like, just raise your hand. Okay, so I guess we can all assume that chemicals on fire are really not a good thing, and breathe it in's really bad. So I'll just let that speak for itself. The second most common would be asbestos, which is usually found in plastering and insulation. It's a carcinogen, and while it's not really dangerous, undisturbed or just resting, when it's on fire and exposed to heat and all that, all the fibers that it's made up of are kind of released in the air. It's really toxic to breathe in. The third is going to be formaldehyde, usually found in pressure treated wood. If your home was built recently, I'm just going to say past 10, 15 years, basically everything's built out of pressure treated wood, like your roof, joist, floor, framing the walls and everything. So if all that catches on fire, it's a lot of formaldehyde and other things just going everywhere. So it's really toxic and not good to breathe in. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the ways we expose ourselves to these chemicals and these cancers. One that is seen most often and one that I'm guilty of is not wearing an SCBA during overhaul. I'm going to explain two things real quick. SCBA stands for self-contained breathing apparatus, which is your air pack in your face mask. And overhaul is basically the process of going in after the fire's out and ripping ceilings and walls apart to check for hidden fires. Although the fire is out, there's still lingering toxic smoke and other chemicals in the air. And I don't exactly know why, but I can say from experience that most people never wear their air packs or anything when they're doing overhaul. A recent study published by the National Library of Medicine found that there are multiple toxins still remaining in the air, such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen cyanide, and multiple other ones. And while the levels that they measured for most of the chemicals were, I guess, at the max limit they could be at, they were still deemed safe. But they did find that carbon monoxide was very high, and I guess we all know carbon monoxide is not good to breathe in. And some of the effects, if you do catch a whiff of it, I guess, is poisoning, which is, I won't go into detail about it, or death, and long-term effects could be cancer. So what can we do to lower our risk of developing cancers? Obviously wear our air packs during overhaul, and second biggest thing is washing our gear inside and out once the fire is out. Since many carcinogens get trapped in the fibers and material of the gear during the fire, it's important to wash that out as soon as possible. And according to NFPA, which is National Fire Protection Association, they have a book full bunch of standards you're supposed to follow, and this one is found in standard 1851, and that just talks about ways you should clean your gear and all that. Also, most departments have a decontamination process that is supposed to take place at the scene of the fire. And it's basically just taking all your stuff off in a really methodical way that limits you touching your skin, because you could have stuff on your hands and all that. It's an easy process, but does a lot to help, but not everybody does it. And wiping down your skin after all your stuff's off and everything, again, I won't go into detail about it because I want to keep it short. But the goal is basically, the goal of deconning at the scene is basically to reduce spreading the carcinogens around in the truck on the way back to the station after the work's done. So as I said before, my goal with this speech was to inform you all about the list, talk about risks of firefighting, which is cancer. While I could go very in depth, that would take hours, so I decided to outline the basics in a way that is hopefully easy to understand. I hope you guys all learned something from this, even though it may not relate to you. Thank you.
Excellent.